Iglesia ni Cristo.
You're now listening to INCRadio United Kingdom Satellite Studio.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us on INC Radio United Kingdom Satellite Studio. And it is another Sunday, for those who don't know. And today is the 23rd of March, 2025. And it's exactly 4 p.m. here in the United Kingdom and also here in the Republic of Ireland. So before I could completely forget to introduce myself, I'm Sadly Grace Medina from the local congregation of Dublin South from the District of Ireland. So again, happy Sunday to everyone. It's been an amazing Sunday, very busy, but we like to keep it that way. Very busy for us to keep doing, to be busy doing good works for the Lord, right? So now I'd like to introduce my co-host for this afternoon. It's Brother Carl Jason Elisan. Hi, Brother CJ or CJ.
Hello, Svenly Grace. I'm CJ Elisan from the local congregation of Dublin. Hello to everyone watching right now on INC Radio United Kingdom Satellite Studio. I hope we're all good, we're all well, and good afternoon from the cold part of the United Kingdom. It's a
Well,
bit
it's
chilly
actually
today, I have to say.
we're both in Dublin. But for those who don't know or who are listening to us right now, I'm in the south part of Dublin, and CJ
Yeah.
is in. It's still south, right?
Technically, Svenly, from where I live, I'm in the north. It's just our worship service, our worship, a place of worship here in the local congregation of Dublin, where I am now at the moment with my big TV screen, my fancy TV screen on my background. I think it's in like kind of like in the middle of Dublin North and South. So if you would be if you would be here in the local congregation of Dublin, it would be just like around 20 minutes drive on the way to where Dublin South is at the moment. How is it over there, Stanley?
Yeah, right now it's a bit cloudy, but like it's a bit chilly, but it's brightening up a little bit, just a little bit. But don't be misled by the brightness because it's still very, very cold. I feel like we just need to forewarn all those who are gonna travel here in Ireland in the next couple of weeks because the weather could be temperamental. So just a little heads up for those who are coming over to the Republic. So keep some lighter clothes plus your winter clothes still packed up because the weather could be a bit tricky. Just a bit of warning. But before we continue on, CJ, right? I know we have an exciting topic for our listeners and our viewers right now. And also, we'd like to introduce our topic discussion. Obviously, so today's topic discussion will be all about making and maintaining connections through the Christian Family Organization. So, for those who don't know, the Christian Family Organizations in the Church of Christ. So, if you're very new still to the church, there are different organizations within the church to help foster the friendship and the relationships within the church. So there are a couple of organizations. So some of them are the CWS. So those are the members of the church who are very young, from the ages of 4 to 12 years old. And then from then on, there is Benhi members as well. So they are the baptized members of the church from the ages of 12 until the age of 17. So when you reach the age of 18, for those baptized members, they become a Kadiwa member. So these are baptized members of the church. They're still the youth of the church. They are the single members of the church from the ages of 18 until you're not married yet. And then Buklod members are the married members of the Church of Christ. So those are some of the organizations that are within the Church of Christ. So we will be discussing connections that we have made through those Christian family organization, and it's such a timely and a very good topic, right, CJ?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And Sandy, just because you mentioned, the different Christian family organizations that we have in the church, it's very important to always establish connection, because especially for the officers, most of all for the officers, because they're the ones leading, the brethren inside the church in many of the activities that are approved by the church administration. So it's very important to always foster that connection, like you said earlier, and also most of all, maintain that kind of connection, as most especially for the officers.
Okay, we'll go straight into our discussion. So the first question that we have that we'll be posing to each other, and by the way, for our listeners and our viewers, don't feel free to join us and answer along with us. So please do answer along through the live chat on YouTube, so we could read it live on air, so we could listen to your own input of our topic discussion for this afternoon. So the first question that we'll be posing to each other and also to our audience and our listeners is, what are some ways you connect with our fellow brethren? It could be from our brethren from the CWS, to the Binhis, to the Kadiwa members, and to the Boklods. CJ, how do you do that for you? What did you find is like your go-to way to connect with our fellow brethren?
Well, first of all, Sandy, I would say, well, to me personally, I mean, everybody has their own ways of connecting with people, but in general, to everybody, not just inside the church, not just within the brethren inside the church, but generally, I would first of all ask them, like, how are they, how they're doing, how was their, well, for the brethren most especially, how was their journey to the place of worship, most especially those who have just moved here, because I know sometimes in Dublin it's going to be quite, when it's your first time doing public transport, it's going to be a bit confusing at first. So I would ask them how was their journey, how have they been, if they came from a very warm country, how are they adjusting to the cold, because it's going to be a really big adjustment weather-wise. And then of course, for the brethren, I would first ask them, just to establish connection, ask them which local congregation are they originally from, like how big. I would actually sometimes ask how big um their places of worship are, because I know in most of, especially in the Philippines, and also in other parts of the world, some places of worship are like, huge, that would you'd almost like get lost when you're inside of it. So I would ask them that, just to establish connection, and just to make the person or the brethren, the brother or the sister, comfortable with you, or with me, in this case, when I'm trying to, like, um make a conversation with them. What about you, Stanley? What's your Oh, after that, sorry, just to add, I would, uh after that, just to continue the conversation, I might just add that I would ask them, regarding their, like, interests as well, like their hobbies, just to find something in common between us. Although most of the time I don't get that kind of, um I don't get that kind of benefit from the conversation. Like, most of the time when I ask them what their interests are, it's always really far away from mine. It's always nice to know. It's always nice to know somebody else's interests, because you never know. It could also be something that you can explore in the future.
Yeah,
But what about
exactly.
you?
Like, yeah, sometimes like you don't know, like the people that you meet initially might spark something in you. Like, you're just making normal conversation, but in the end, maybe this is the person that will help you get interested doing something completely different from something that you are already doing. So
Exactly.
for me, the ways that I connect is exactly like the way you would connect, but like I think it's different ways depending on who I'm like talking to. So obviously, if I'm talking to a CWS member, um, so for those who are little kids, especially like their family maybe just moved here from somewhere else and they're finding it a bit daunting, right? To talk to anyone because they don't know anyone yet. I initially get a feel of what they're like and what they're like. Obviously, if they're like playing with something or trying to keep to themselves, maybe I don't like there's no need to approach them straight away. Maybe I need to step back and just observe a little bit. And maybe when they're finding their feet, maybe I could like slowly approach them, something like that. It depends on the type of personality of the children. But if they're binhi, like for example, if they just moved from somewhere else or like they're in Ireland already and just transferred from a different local congregation, I always go and connect to the Bini members through studies. So I like always ask them what year they're on in secondary school. So if they're about to do their leaving cert, I always try and ask them what courses they're thinking of doing in the future. Like here in Ireland, when you're trying to apply for university or for college, we have have this system called CAO. So I always ask them, oh, what did you put down on your CAO application? So this is a general application for all of the universities in Ireland. So I always ask them, so what's on your level 8 CAO application? So these are courses, or what's on your level 6, things like that. So like I could kind of gauge what they're interested in. So maybe they will say, oh, like I'm into engineering, things like that. And maybe I could help them out, like give a background. Like let's say if it's a university that I know or I'm familiar with, I kind of give them advice, and maybe from there then on, they could approach me with kind of like a um study or college based kind of questions, and from then on they could like establish that they could approach me easily with anything. So those are for the Binhi members. But for Kadiwa, I think it's so easy. I feel like it's easier for Kadiwa members. Do you not think that? Like I feel like it's easier to approach
Yeah.
somebody along the same age as you, right?
Yes, exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. I forgot to take into account to observe what age the person you're talking to, because I was everything that I said earlier, everything that I said earlier, Sandy, was just for like,
Like a
uh,
general.
yeah, exactly, for like somebody my age. You don't come up to a kid and then ask like, "What's your hobby?" I mean, they would have a hobby, but
They would go
it's not.
like, "Who are you?"
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah. But for me, I actually agree with you. Like it's easily for it's I find it a lot more easier to have what you call it. Like I'd say, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think I'm just very adaptable when it comes to approaching a person because
Yeah, you
I
are actually. You are.
I think so.
Yeah, no, like I feel like for those who don't know and those who are go- uh coming here in the Republic of Ireland, he is a very approachable person. He's such an easygoing person. So like if you come up to him, it's easy to start a conversation with him. And yeah, so I feel like you come across as very friendly and very engaging. So yeah.
And yeah, and just and on the contrary, I'm actually a very quiet person.
Are you really?
Like yes, exactly. I just it's also because I think it's one way. Like I think we've had this topic before on the show where we talked about if I can remember correctly, about social battery or something like that, where we I was one of the hosts as well with
Mhm.
you, Sandy. I was talking about how my social battery is very limited.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's why I kind of I save it really. I save it for the church activities. Like say if tomorrow or on the next week we have this big activity in the district, and it's something that we have to really engage with other brethren. We have to be really engaging because also I'm a CFO officer, so it's expected for us CFO officers to like engage with the brethren, ask them how they are, if they're enjoying the activity in general. So I would really do my best to save my energy for that. So probably that's why everybody I know inside the inside the church as well is very would like you would have the impression of me being really approachable. But yeah, that's true. That is correct. I'm not gonna deny that.
No, but I feel like officers have to be really
Yeah,
engaging and
exactly.
approachable,
Yeah,
because we have to be the first ones to be like looking after our brothers and sisters, and also like we need to be visible for them to easily um approach us with questions or some like any concerns. So I think that's just like the default personality of all the
yeah.
officers, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but just to add to what you said earlier, Sunny, it's a good point to remember when when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody to you know uh, establish a connection with them through something that they can relate to. You don't go speak to a student and then ask them if they have like if they're working part time, or if they're how's their work going when it turns out they're only studying and they're not really working. So it's
Mhm.
very yeah it's important to take that into account as well when you're trying to connect with somebody.
Yeah, and as I know, like through conversations, when you talk to people, you'll easily realize that there are some younger people that they're not academically driven, but they're more like creative. They're more into working with their hands, so you could easily gauge that in with the
Yeah,
initial conversation. So you wouldn't like obviously you wouldn't continue pursuing a question with somebody if you know that they're not going to pursue an academic career, or like academic, they're not going to be academically driven, right? So
yeah,
you kind of based it on how the conversation is flowing. But for the Kadiwa members, because we're almost similar ages, it's easy because like you could easily ask them about if they're really into travel, which I am, and I know you too. And also like some Kadiwa members are really into kind of saving up for the future. And I know a lot of Kadiwa members that are so into those kind of like preparation for the future financially. So like I could easily ask them or approach them through like an initial conversation like that. And then like for me too, like for me, I like connecting with the book club members as well, because book club members are fun too. Like for for those who I just like to point that out. Because book club members, they've already gone through all of the organizations, right? The Benhika Diwa members, and they're finally book club. And some of them are like newly married bookloads, so they're are the similar ages as us, or maybe there are similar ages as us, newlywed, and they have a little kid already, or they are the more experienced bookloads, so they could easily give us advice about things in life. So I really like talking to them because it's more like a story time kind of way. So I always like to keep connections with different organizations in the church. But like I know we've already established, right, that that's how like some examples of the ways we connect with our fellow brethren. But what is your go-to way to break the ice in a way? For you, what is your go-to way to break the ice with somebody that you're just getting to know?
um hmm actually I would always, I'm the type of person who would always I know it's not like a really good habit, but I find something humorous in even in the very serious of situations. Although I'm not doing that all the time, of course, but it's good to have like something. It's good to have to look for something to laugh about, um especially in conversations, because like if you're talking to somebody and you're just all serious, well, for me, I'm not going to survive that kind of conversation, to be honest. Like not having something to laugh about at all. For me to like say if I feel like the conversation's going really strong, head on, professionally serious, I would sometimes joke about uh just anything, just about anything, just to have something to laugh about, really. Because I think it's also very, I find it easier to connect with somebody when you're laughing about something, when you have, especially when you have the same humor as well. If you laugh about something very similar, if you have the same kind of humor, it's also very easy to connect with those kind of people. But of course, like they said, humor or comedy in general is very subjective. Like what's funny to me may not be funny to you. So it's always very important to be very careful as well of what we say or what we joke about. It's very to be very more a bit more sensitive towards other people's feelings, because what you might find funny may not maybe really a very sensitive subject to them. So although it's a good way to break the ice, it's also you have to do it very cautiously. Uh, but that's for me anyway. But what about you, Sandy? Um, what's your way of breaking a very serious conversation? I don't think you can. I think you're. For me, I think you can survive that kind of conversation.
I feel
Very.
like it depends on like it depends on the day, I guess, if I have the mental
That is
capacity.
true. Yeah, that's very true.
But like I've just realized now while you were talking, right? Has your approach to breaking the ice changed when you were a Binhi member and now that you're Kadiwa? Has it slightly changed? Like for me, I think it did. Like I feel like when I was Binhi, I think it goes along with like um uh our adult life in general. Like I feel like when you're a Binhi member, still so much that you're unsure about. Like 'cause, you're young. There's still a lot of there's still a good bit of lack of confidence generally about yourself, the way you carry yourself. So you're not as easily, you don't approach people straight away. So you're a bit more like guarded. Like maybe it's just me. I don't know if you found yourself like that when you were a Binhi member. I
Yeah,
feel like
no,
I was like
that is very true. I actually agree with you, because when I was still a Benhi member, I don't think I'm that good at starting conversations at all. Like not as well, not as good as I am. Well, I'm still not good. I'm still not good in general, but I have more confidence now than I had, that I felt like I had when I was still a Binhi member. Because, well, I think it's also generational. When I think it's just I think, yeah, I think it's just generational. When kids or teenagers in general, they only approach people their age. They don't really they don't really strike a conversation with people that are beyond their age group, I think. But when you once you well, I felt, to me, the turning point was when I kind of felt like I could engage in a conversation towards any age at all. Probably when I was like around mid 20s. Um, I'm not sure if it's the same for everybody else or for you, but for me, I had more confidence to engage with people, like striking up conversation, most especially with brethren. And also, it helped it really helped when you're a church officer, because like you're pushed towards to get out of your comfort zone when it comes to striking a conversation, because like you said earlier, you'd have to really adjust, because if you're an officer in the Christian family organizations, you have to engage with the brethren talk to them, and like strike even just like a 2 to 3 minute conversation would be enough, just to make sure that they feel, just to give them that sense of belonging, especially when it's like a newly transferred brethren.
Yeah, like I feel like when you're young, the feeling is you don't want to be the one approaching because you feel like you might say something wrong or people might take you as a bit weird or something. So like you're the one accepting, like, the conversation. You're not the ones starting the conversation. But so like I feel like, when I was a Binhi member, there's more people breaking the ice for me, and I'm not the one breaking the ice. Like, do you get what I mean? So like a lot of the times now, like as a Kadiwa member, I break the ice, especially for those that I know that move here by themselves. I know it's such a hard emotion or hard feeling to be by yourself in a strange country, in a culture you're not familiar with. So it's always I always try and break the ice with them, knowing that like they're just an individual Kadiwa member, and I always approach them first and try to get to know which area they're living in, not to stalk them or anything, but just so I could let them know what the area is like, the places that they could go to, like whenever they feel like a bit like you need to decompress and relax and things like that, and also the places that they need to be careful of, like so they could realize that I'm the type of person that like they could approach for little things like that. So I try to, like, now I realize that I'm more of the one breaking the ice, as a Kadiwa member, and also as when I'm approaching a Buklod member too. Do you not find that as well?
I actually, yeah, that's very true. I actually agree with what you said. Actually, every time I speak with you, Sanli, you're always the one breaking the ice. It's a very good trait, I think. Especially if you're the one trying to connect with
Mm.
somebody else. It's really just just to make them feel comfortable. Because I don't think it's not like everybody feels comfortable talking with a stranger and
Mm.
like engage in a head-on conversation about life in general. I don't think that's that's a really good way to connect. But
Mm.
it's always very good to have something to humor about.
Yeah, like now, breaking the ice is just being for me is just being overly friendly, specifically to those who are moving into the country by themselves. Like I'm like really fortunate that I move here with my family, but it's a very hard experience for those who are moving here by themselves. So I try to be overly friendly, although it might seem like it's too much sometimes, but I try to be like that. So at least they know that they have somebody in the locale that they know already, like so yeah, it's such a it's a very hard like thing that I need to push myself to do, because I'm not like that normally. I feel like I'm like you too, like I try to keep to myself a lot of times, like if I'm by myself. But uh, when I know that there's somebody that could like will need my help, I try to be a bit more of a approachable personality, really friendly, just so yeah they could realize that I'm somebody that they could reach out to, whatever the case is. Um, Now, let's proceed to another question that we have. I think, CJ, I think we have another question to pose for not only for us, but also for those who are watching and listening to us. Um, we have a third question that you'd like to ask me, right?
Yes, exactly. So let's go to the next question. So, for you, what are some examples of how meeting others or knowing others has helped you in school, or in your work, or even in your just in your day-to-day life? Like, some examples, like, taking a conversation with somebody, and then applying them, maybe applying them to your own personal life.
For me, like it all depends on the person that I'm talking to, or like the organization they belong in. A lot of time I think, like we've mentioned this before we went live, right? It all depends on who you're talking to. Like for me right now, most of the times for the binhi and kadiwa or younger kadiwa, I'm the one giving them advice. But for those who are a slightly older kadi, or maybe the same age as me, but in a different position in life, they're the ones giving me advice. And also the book club members as well, they're the ones giving me advice. So there are a lot of people that like truly help me in different stages of my life, and also a lot of people that I'd like to think that I help, um, through our like simple conversations, whenever we see each other. So like for me, like a lot of the people that help me all throughout my life is mostly kadiwas that are my age or slightly older than me. They constantly remind me um, that all of us are in different stages of our lives. I feel like there is a moment or a stage in or a phase in our lives that you feel like you're competing against another person. I don't know if you felt that. Maybe for me, there was a moment that I felt like I'm in a race, or like I'm competing against another person, or like just competing in general in life. I don't know if you felt that too, CJ.
Yeah, of course, I have actually. I think it's common to everybody in their 20s to, yeah, I think it's very common to people in their 20s, especially in this day and age where social media is very accessible. It's very easy to compare your life with others when you see them every day in social media. But I think it's very good to think when I remember seeing this quote in a movie before, where where there's um there's a fish, and this fish is looking for the ocean, but actually the fish itself is actually already in the ocean. So they're looking for some it's so, like, to say simply, it's they're looking for something, where when they fail to appreciate what is what you call it, what's already what I'm trying to twist my words here. What's
Mo-
happening?
what moment they're in, or like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's the cold. I feel I actually real feel cold right now. But yeah,
It's getting to you. It's getting to you.
exactly. But yeah, what I was saying was, it's very easy to compare yourself with others and then fail to appreciate what you already have. So I think it's important to think of what you appreciate, what you already have, and then if you see somebody who's on a higher, or who's on a farther path than you are, and then I think it's okay, because we all have our own journeys. But what
Like
about
for
you?
me now,
Sorry, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
go
like
ahead.
for me now, I realize like the book club members or even the Kadiwa members that are giving me advice, or even just having a casual conversation with me, but I know they wanted to give me something, like share something important to me. Most of them always share that, oh, I'm at this stage of my life, maybe you should look at this, because at during my age, the age that you are in right now, I didn't think about this, I didn't think about this, but I only realize now that I'm this age that it's very important. They don't share it as if they're regretting something, but they're sharing it for me to value something, like right now during my age, that maybe I could look into to help prepare me for the future. And also something that I need to prepare myself for, because maybe it's something that I've never thought about. But for also like they're giving me advice, but I'm also sharing advice to the younger ones that I know. Like for example, I've already mentioned, right, like the binhi members that I talk to, that maybe they're very academically driven, but I always like to remind the binhi members and also their parents whenever I get to talk to them or manage to talk to them, that it's never like academia is never linear. There's so many pathways that you could explore to get you to do the things that you wanted to do in life. Like for example, there are courses there are so many pathways around it. So don't think that there's only one way to get to the course that you like in the future. There's so many avenues that we could explore to help us to get to the point that we want. So don't feel like when you don't reach the stage that you'd like to, oh, the point that you'd like to do as a binhi member, that's the end of it, that's the end of your journey or your like academic life. There's so many ways that you could explore, or so many hobbies or interests that maybe that you could explore. That's why you don't get into the courses that you'd like to get into. So yeah, like there are so many people that help me kind of have an open mindset in a way, and also gently remind me of the things that I needed to do or to plan for in the future. Like what about you? How are like what are some of the examples? Maybe there are already things that you've mentioned already, that people that help you in your career, or even like this moment right now, that you're like this moment in your life right now, that they help you in your day-to-day life.
Oh, sorry, I lost the button to turn the mic on. But
I know
I
you were
think
looking for the button.
I think one example, if I can remember really good, Sandy, I think it's during my secondary school years, where my teachers in my secondary years would give me advice on on how to approach life like in the future. And back then, I don't have the slightest idea of what they're talking about. Um, it's very true. Like whatever advice you give to somebody, until they actually experience it in their real life, they wouldn't understand it. I think that's what they. I think I hear this. I hear this very often. Experience is the best teacher, and I think it's very agreeable to to have that kind of um words to remember, because it's you don't really understand something until you actually experience it. You can only, like, you can think about it, but it's not something that you can relate to, because it's not something that you have gone through yet, until you hit your 20s, your late your late 20s, and then, then you realize, oh yeah, a lot of those things that they told me before, it's very applicable, especially in your professional life. A lot of those things that you were told before, you don't really understand back then yet, and then suddenly you actually experience it yourself, and then you just got hit with the reality that life can give you that kind of twist, really. But it's also, it's a good it's also a good way to for you to experience it, because if you hadn't experienced whatever experience that might have given you, like, I'd say maybe a turning point in your life, where you'd say, where you have, like, a little snap of finger, and then like an aha moment. um you wouldn't really be able to give an advice as well to the younger generation, and then tell them, trust me, I've been through it. I'm actually, it's so funny. I find it really funny um, because it's very odd for me to say that to somebody, when back then, a few years ago, I was told exactly the same words, but it's actually very real. And that's the power of conversations.
Yeah, that's the power of the connections that we make as members of the Church of Christ, like especially for the older Kadiwas and older Buklods. They've gone through it. So that's why like it's essential to ask them through conversations of what their viewpoint is, especially uh, for our careers, because they've gone through it. They have like so much wisdom to share, right? And it's just where like our goal is to tap into those connections that are already there. And yeah, that's why it's essential for us to maintain those connections as members of the Church of Christ. And yes, again, like we're already sharing the reason why it is important for us to foster those connection and those fellowship. What else can you share, CJ, why it's important for us members of the Church of Christ to continue to do that?
It's very important because, like what you said earlier as well, Sandy, it's important to maintain that kind of connection, especially in inside the Church of Christ, where you get really really good wisdom from the fellow officers, from the older members of the church, from the older officers that you, or even from the ministers. Like you get really good wisdom from them for just to prepare you for what life might for what you might go through in life in the future, and because it's not all sunshines and rainbows. So it's very good to like seek advice from, especially from the older church officers, just to give you the perspective of what you might experience and how to handle them as well, how to deal with them in the right way, in the most Christian way, because us in the church, as members in the Church of Christ, are taught to always hold on to what our Lord, our Almighty God, can do for us. But what about you,
Yeah,
and Sanli?
yeah, I completely agree. Like the organizations are put together by the church administration to edify our faith through like the people that we're surrounded with, right? So like for us Kadiwa members, we should be the ones looking after the younger members, right? And then for both Kadiwa and Buklod members, we should be um, edifying each other with the many ways that we could do that, like through our career, through giving advice in our school life, and then the Buklod members giving us advice in life in general. Because the main aim of putting together those organizations is to strengthen our faith and to support us in the different stages of our lives. And those people that we're surrounded with, they have the life skills to help us deal with the many challenges in our personal lives. um, and those people that we're surrounded with, as you've said, they've already gone through those things already, so they have the skill set and the advices to help us overcome those challenges. And yes, that's why it's essential for us. It's very important for us, members of the Church of Christ, to continue to maintain and make connections through the Christian family organizations. And CJ, that's the end of our topic discussion. And we just have a closing statement, right, for all of our listeners and of our viewers.
Yes, that's it, Sandy. But to remind us, as members of the Church of Christ, we are constantly reminded to uphold the love of the brotherhood. But as we go through life and different stages in the Christian family organization, we all the more understand the importance of this teaching, fostering the connections that we have made at different points of our life as true Christians helps us in staying inspired in our work for the Lord, and also remain steadfast in our faith. And before we continue on with our show, Sandy, we're just going to go on a short break, and then we'll go and show our viewers an INC Christian music video from the concert, from this 50th year anniversary celebration in the West, dance mash-up performance. We'll be right back.
This is INC Radio,
DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
It's only round one, trying to catch my breath. Hits from everywhere, I'm covering my head. Been here before, so what's to fear? I knew this fight would come, I've trained all these years. So when it goes down, I'm ready for a big fight. Facing my opponent in this ring that they call life. There's a new normal, without no melodies. Ready for the times that we face upon Goods.
Ain't no trial, ain't no test, ain't no hardship that I can't face. Ain't no flood, hurricane, fire, even the people ain't gonna bring me down. Ace Goods.
And we're back on INC Radio United Kingdom Satellite Studio. And you've just witnessed an Iglesia de Cristo CMV from the 50 years in the West concert here in this part of the world. And that was a dance mash up performance. And we are so thankful to the brethren that put together those performances. And they're so talented. And I know you've seen some familiar faces. So please shout them out on our live chat. And now we'll proceed to the next part of our program, which is called CFO in Action. So we will be discussing some of the activities in the districts of Britain South, Britain North, and Ireland. So today we will be discussing two of the activities that were conducted in the district of Britain South. So the first activity that we will be discussing about is the Britain South District CMDPS and SCAN special gathering, and you'll see it in your screens in a couple of moments. Some of our brethren who took part in the activity. This is a multi-site activity. So in the videos or in the materials you'll be seeing on your screen, they are taken part by local congregations of Heathrow and also the local congregation of Stratford. And there are brethren that joined along via an online link. So as you can see, Brother CJ, it's such so nice to see brethren taking part and being involved in activities like this, right?
Yes, exactly, Stanley. And just to mention as well, to our viewers who are not aware, CMDPS and SCAN are two organizations inside the Church of Christ, which is also under the Christian Family Organizations. Christian CMDPS stands for Christian Medical, Dental, and Paramedical Society. So all of the brethren who works or a professional in the medical field belong to that organization. And the SCAN International Society of Communicators and Networkers International are um, are the brethren who are in charge of the communications of inside the Church of Christ. And it's really important to and thank we're grateful to the church administration as well, Sandy, that they have approved these kinds of gathering, just to remind the brethren and those that belong to those organizations on how important the organizations that belong to are, and what's the role in the edification of the brethren inside the church.
Yes,
And
that's
for
very
our
true, CJ. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, and we'll proceed to our second activity, Stanley, which is from Britain South as well, for a bowling activity in the local congregation of Norwich.
Yes.
Shout out to everybody there in Norwich. Am I saying it
Yes.
right? Is it Norwich or Norwich?
I,
Um,
I think it's Norwich. Please correct
Norwich?
us because
Yeah,
we're from
please
the
correct us.
Republic. Please correct us
For-
on the live chat if we're saying it properly. But as you can see there, the brethren from different organizations have gathered together to conduct a bowling activity, and it's such a good activity, like an exciting activity that all of the organizations can be part of. And as you can see, all the smiling faces in the local congregation of Norwich, and like to say hello to all of our brethren who took part in the activity, and we like to give them a big shout out as well. And for those who are joining us on the live chat, please give them a big shout out as well. If you see anyone that you know in the local congregation of Norwich, please give them a big shout out and tell them that you were on INC Radio United Kingdom Satellite Studio. And yes, that we are thankful to the church administration for allowing us to conduct activities like that, where we are joined together from different CFO organizations, and we could express our sporting skills through a bowling activity, and also remain united with the church administration. And that brings us to the end of our CFO in action, and sadly to the end of our program. CJ, I know it's
Wow.
so quick. Yeah, flew by.
Yeah, where did the time go? Um,
Yes.
Well, do you have any shout outs there from the live chat, Sandy, that you might want to mention before we completely end our show? because they might
Oh,
text us privately.
yes. No, actually, I'd like to say a big shout out to all of the brethren in the local congregation of Heathrow. All of the like the leadership of the Heathrow congregation really supported us today in our program. I'd like to say hello to all of them and give them a big shout out. And also, I'd like to specifically just read a comment from Brother Seth Hebrew. Hello po, Brother Seth. Like CFO, INC Radio connects the brethren. Thanks to host and production crew and staff from hashtag Heathrow. So I'd like to say hello and a big shout out to Brother Seth and also to Sister Christina Hebrew as well. What about
Yeah.
you, CJ?
Yes, hello to everyone tuning in at the moment. Unfortunately, my phone died just before I could read some some comments on the live chat, which is a really good timing, Sandy. But I'm just gonna say hello to everybody tuning in right now, to all of the districts, District of Ireland, Britain North and Britain South, to all of us, to all of them, to all of our brethren tuning in at the moment. I hope you are all doing well. But before we end our program today, Sandy would first like to greet our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our Christian Family Organization Coordinator, Brother Angelo Aranyo V. Manalo, and we would also like to say hello to our Brother Wali Taray, our Station Manager, and also to Brother Montreal Boy, our INC Media Production Section Chief. We would also like to extend our greeting to our district supervising ministers in the districts of Britain South and Britain North, Brother Harley Alcantara from Britain South, and also our Brother Anthony Pena, our district supervising minister for Britain North, and also our very own Brother Pepito Acosta in the District of Ireland, our district supervising minister. Hello po. And to our would like to also extend our warm greetings to the rest, to all of the ministers and workers in the districts of Britain South, Britain North, and in the District of Ireland. So we hope
Yes,
that you enjoy. Yeah, yes, Sandy. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button.
There
So
we
I
go.
had to. Yes, so we do hope that you've enjoyed our program this afternoon and you took in a little bit of nuggets of wisdom all throughout our program. And you know that you could continue to tune in on INC Radio, and not only on INC Radio, but also INC Radio United Kingdom Satellite Studio. You could keep watching and listening via live audio and streaming at iglesiacristo.net/INC Radio. And you could easily stream us live on your mobile phone by downloading our INC Radio app. So you could easily rewatch our program, any part of our program via YouTube. So please continue to watch us and please continue to tune in. And right after us is INC Radio Italy North. So I'd like to say hello to our brethren our brethren who will continue to broadcast, right? So that's it from us from INC Radio United Kingdom Satellite Studio. Happy Sunday, everyone, and thank you so much for supporting us. That's it. Bye.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
How does social media affect your emotions? Tune in this Sunday, March 23